Obi-Wan Kenobi sacrificed himself during a duel with his former pupil aboard the Death Star, which allowed Luke Skywalker and his companions to escape the battle station. But what if Kenobi hadn't needed to sacrifice himself? What if he was able to join Luke in his escape? A New Hope would still end in the same way, with Luke destroying the Death Star with the help of Han Solo and Obi-Wan, who tells him to use the Force over the radio comm this time rather than through the Force. One of the biggest changes Obi-Wan's presence would make is regarding Leia. Obi-Wan would inform Leia of her true heritage, and would be insistent that she train in the Force alongside Luke. He would represent an extremely knowledgeable and accessible teacher for the young Skywalker twins, and would easily have them far beyond where Luke's training was by the time of The Empire Strikes Back, in the original timeline. While Leia was incredibly headstrong and dedicated to the rebellion, I believe she'd see the wisdom in developing her gifts, as they would ultimately provide an advantage against the Empire. It wouldn't be long before Obi-Wan sent both Luke and Leia to Dagobah to learn from Yoda. In exchange, he would remain with the rebellion, lending them his wisdom and his extensive wartime experience. With Obi-Wan helping to keep the Empire at bay, Luke and Leia would be permitted time to focus on their training in solitude with Master Yoda. He would train them for a full year, working them rigorously every single day. They'd deepen their connection with the Force and take their lightsaber skills to impressive lengths. Needless to say, when they returned from Dagobah, they'd be far beyond where Luke was at this time in the original timeline. With two rising stars in the Force and an old yet masterful hand to guide them in Kenobi, the rebellion would be in much better shape. Meanwhile, Darth Vader, who had been obsessed with learning the young pilot's name who had destroyed the Death Star, would eventually find out by capturing a high-ranking rebel official and extracting the information from his mind. He would also learn of the true heritage of Princess Leia. The information would shock him to his core and would confirm that his master had lied to him. He did not kill Padme, at least not immediately as Palpatine had made it seem. Furthermore, after failing to kill Kenobi and extract his vengeance upon the old man, Vader would be in quite a dark, tumultuous place. He had come so agonizingly close to striking down his former master, yet he had failed, and now his enemies had multiplied, had become his own children. Vader would constantly attempt to find and kill Kenobi, but would always be one step behind the savvy general. In fact, Kenobi would know that he'd be unable to defeat Darth Vader in a one-on-one duel. He felt the Sith Lord's strength during their duel upon the Death Star, and that was with Vader being extremely cautious. So Kenobi would take great care not to chance an encounter with Vader. Much like in the original timeline, Obi-Wan and Yoda would keep the truth from both Luke and Leia, telling them that Darth Vader betrayed and murdered their father, and leaving out the fact that he was actually their father. Darth Vader would contact his master, Emperor Palpatine, and would notify him of the two Skywalker twins. Palpatine would, much like in the original timeline, view this as an opportunity to acquire not only one, but two new apprentices. With two prodigies in the Force on his leash, his grip upon the galaxy would be unbreakable. Palpatine would begin to take steps to ensure that the Skywalker twins would soon come face to face with Vader and he. Ultimately, Kenobi and Yoda would know that a confrontation with Vader and Palpatine would be unavoidable for the twins. If they were to overthrow the Sith and dismantle the Empire, then Vader and Palpatine would have to be defeated. They would seek to put off such an encounter for as long as possible, though. Let's face it, Luke in the original timeline was no match for Palpatine by the time of Return of the Jedi. He would have certainly been killed had Anakin Skywalker not returned to save his son. So, in order for the Skywalker twins to actually contend with Palpatine, they'd need to truly be far beyond where Luke was in that film. Far, far beyond it. While they'd definitely be better trained and more powerful than Return of the Jedi Luke was, there simply wouldn't be enough time for them to truly surpass Palpatine in knowledge and power. Even Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, would not have been able to defeat Palpatine in Episode 3, and that was with 13 years of training under the complete Jedi Order under his belt. The twins would be under a lot of pressure. Obi-Wan and Yoda would desire to continue training Luke and Leia for as long as they could. The way they would see it would be that attacking Palpatine and Vader too early would simply result in the death of the twins, or worse, result in them being overpowered and turned to the dark side. The rebellion, on the other hand, would desperately need the help of Luke and Leia. Two powerful Jedi in the battlefield could prove to be the deciding factor of a battle. It could save lives. Leia would be inclined to devote herself to the rebellion. She was raised a rebel by her father Bail Organa. She had seen her homeworld destroyed by the Empire. Despite being taught by Obi-Wan and Yoda to let go of her anger and her hurt over Alderaan, she would be unable to. She'd be unable to abandon her rebellion. Luke, on the other hand, would be less decisive on the matter. He cared deeply for his friends, but he would feel closer to Obi-Wan and Yoda. Remember, in this timeline, Lucas spent most of his time training. He never made the friendships and bonds that he made within the rebellion in the original timeline. Even Han Solo would be gone in this timeline. Solo and Chewbacca would have left the rebellion fairly early on, having to pay back Jabba the Hutt, and not having the relationships they had with Luke and Leia in the original timeline. They would just have no reason to really stick around. I believe that though it would hurt Luke deeply, he'd remain with Obi-Wan and the pair would return to Dagobah to train with Yoda. Soon enough, the Empire would track the rebels to their secret base on Hoth. There, a similar battle to the one in Empire Strikes Back would take place. However, Leia would be on the front lines, cutting down snowtroopers and buying time for the rebel brass to escape. Eventually, their lines would be overrun and Leia would flee inside the base to the hangars. Just as she'd be about to board a shuttle, she'd feel herself being thrown backwards, tumbling to the icy floor. The chilling sound of mechanical breathing would fill the room. Breathing Leia recognized. She'd rise to her feet and would see Darth Vader standing alone, his crimson blade burning. Leia, knowing that Vader would prevent an escape, would rush the Sith Lord. The only way she was getting off Hoth now would be if she struck Vader down. Leia rushes at Vader, igniting her lightsaber and whirling at him with her maelstrom of blue. Vader calmly blocks her strikes, robotically arcing his blade with precision to catch each successive attack Leia makes. The two lock blades, with their lightsabers sizzling and cracking as Leia stares up at the dark mask of Vader, wondering what the man who murdered her father looked like beneath it. She spins away, already breathing heavily from their short battle. Vader advances on her slowly before bringing down his lightsaber upon her with a heavy strike. Leia dances away from it, unwilling to take such a powerful blow on her own blade. She directs her lightsaber point at Vader's chest panel, but Vader sidesteps and launches her across the room with a force push. She slides to a halt, kicking up ice near her feet. She growls with frustration and rushes Vader again. Vader pulls chunks of ice from the walls with the Force and hurls them one by one at Leia. She slices through each one mid-charge and then leaps at Vader like a missile. The tip of her blade sneaks past his guard, her sheer speed taking him by surprise and cutting a slice into his side. Vader bellows in pain and rage, a guttural howl escaping his throat as he unleashes an onslaught of attacks on Leia. She dodges most of them, acrobatically ducking and weaving underneath Vader's blade. His breathing picks up as he swings and misses and thrusts through only air. Leia spins around the slower Vader and arcs a burning cut across his back, tearing his cape into smoldering ribbons. Vader roars in agony, balling his robotic fists as he shouts. Cracks form in the ice all around him. Panels of ice crumble from the walls, and the whole room seems to shake. For the first time, Leia feels fear swell up within her. Vader unleashes a raw blast of unbridled Force energy at Leia. It lifts her off her feet and sends her crashing into the wall at a near imperceptible speed. Before she can recover her senses, her lightsaber is ripped from her hand, and a chunk of solid ice slams into her head, sending her rolling. With her vision cutting in and out, she feels herself being lifted from the floor with horrific ease, before being slammed into the ground again. She reaches out towards her shuttle, pleading with those aboard to somehow save her. The last thing Leia sees before she blacks out is the shuttle deserting her, the fear of Vader too great for them to overcome. Vader tosses the unconscious form of Leia to the floor with the Force, catching his breath as a group of snowtroopers enter the hangar. Vader strides past them, shuffling uncomfortably from his injuries. He orders Leia to be taken onto his Star Destroyer immediately. One of his two children is now his. With a little more training, perhaps the two of them can finally overthrow his master, and Vader can rule the galaxy for himself at last. A slave no more. So that was part 1 of What If Obi-Wan Survived His Duel with Vader on the Death Star. Let me know what you thought down in the comment section below, and if you're looking forward to part 2. Thank you so much for watching, folks. Remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you feel we've earned it. I'm Zach, and I'll see you in the future.